As a Sixth Doctor fan, it can sometimes be quite disheartening to see the negativity towards this season. Specifically, I get this strange mix of feeling defensive and self-conscious, because on the one hand, I will admit, there are quite a few issues with this season, but I do think they are somewhat exaggerated to make them sound worse than they actually are. For example, I think it's fair to say that the Sixth Doctor and Perry's rocky relationship can be difficult to watch at points, but to make the argument that they have zero chemistry or endearing moments is not true at all. I'd say it's more of a case that the Sixth Doctor, for this particular season, doesn't really have much of an end goal in terms of why he's so abrasive at points, which is arguably more frustrating. I'd say that's where this season falls. It's sort of trapped in this bizarre mix of trying to be something quite like Russell's Who, more character driven and emotional, and sometimes feeling like it's a bit stuck on nostalgia for the 70s and throwing references out there just for the sake of it, and as such it comes off really underwhelming. I think key figures like Eric Saywood not being quite committed to the changes in format like the new runtime really hamper this season. A good example of this, like the weakest story in my opinion, Time Lash, offers an interesting idea of having a former friend of the Doctor be the antagonist, only for that aspect to be barely given any focus and the rest of the story being very shoddily made and otherwise quite generic, which makes me really frustrated. The biggest problem is that it doesn't commit to what it's doing, rather than the controversial actions itself. But to be fair, when you look at these episodes and put aside some of their issues, I do think they're better than people give it credit for, and there are a lot of strong moments from the Sixth Doctor, like his regret over not trusting Lytton, or the Nevermore Butterfly speech from the two Doctors. Outside of Time Lash, I'd say Mark Rani's perfectly fine, Vengeance of Varys is genuinely great though a bit dark, Two Doctors, admittedly messy but has a lot of fun, and I think the season's book ended well with a solid Dalek and Cyberman story.